Hello, my friends, and welcome to Secret Transmissions. I'm your host, codename Fulcrum. Of course, you can just call me Nick. We have an interesting episode today. A lot of drama in the Star Wars social media world in the last couple weeks. But we want to kind of spread that idea of positivity as well as talk about the toxicity that the Star Wars fandom has been known for. But I can't do that without my special guest. First of all, I'd like to bring out here a Star Wars lawyer who is, I would say, kind of our symbol of hope when it comes to the phrase "more of us." There are more of us. So let's bring on Chris, Star Wars lawyer.
Hello, what have we here?
I love it. And of course, perfect background, Cloud City.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to bring out our next person. We've got Christina Boba Fett.
Hello, everyone.
Hello there. And of course, Luke from the Podwans.
Hello there.
Hello there. How's everybody doing?
Good.
We're making it. We're making it.
Good. You know,
We're making it. It's true.
we're just trying to make it through. We're just simple people trying to make it through the universe. You know.
Yep.
That's true. That is a truth fact. So before we get started too far, can we do a little roundtable of where we can find you on all the socials so that everybody who already follows you can go follow you again? Chris,
Okay.
Star Wars lawyer. Yeah.
All right. So I'm Chris, aka Star Wars lawyer, all one word on everything. TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Hive, Kick, all of them.
I am so jealous you got the one name for all of that. It's like you chose wisely.
Yeah. I didn't think this name would stick.
Really? You didn't think it would stick?
No. Like, so.
Okay, come on, Chris.
No. So when I first downloaded TikTok, it made you like pick a username. So it was like, I just did Mufasa and a bunch of numbers. But then when I was convinced to actually do content creation, and the first video I did was Star Wars, and I was like, well, I like Star Wars and I'm a lawyer, so I'll just pair them together, and it stuck.
It works. Yeah, but it's memorable.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Boba Fett, Christina. What about you?
Also pretty easy. You can find me at Boba Fett on TikTok, and it's at Boba Fett 83 on Instagram.
Excellent. And Luke.
You can find us pretty much everywhere at the Podwans. We are currently going through our Star Wars Rebels rewatch. Tomorrow we have Chase Forward into the Black on for Iron Squadron, and then we also have obviously it's Survivor Week, so we've got coverage of that. Harith will be playing tomorrow when it first drops, and also Friday, and then Char and I will be doing a live stream together. So he's flying out where I live, and we're going to play the game together and have a whole bunch of fun on Saturday. So that's a little bit of what we are doing.
That's all. It's good. Yeah, I'm excited. It drops for me tomorrow night at 9 p.m. So I'm going to go live on it. And if you want to see somebody terrible at playing video games, that's me. If you want to just like make fun of me the entire time, that is okay. But basically we're gonna not really be seeing the worlds for the next few days, so this is the last hurrah. So for a moment, Luke will be right back. Chris, the phrase that we use, more of us, there are more of us. Can you kind of explain to us, first of all, kind of what it means in general, but what it means to you in particular?
So I have to go back to May 4th, 2021, or leading up to that. So there's a TikToker, Nicole Maricela. She did Poe. So if you look at like a lot of my older videos, you see I'm thin, she's Poe. And she sort of came up with the idea that we would, for May 4th, recreate that There Are More of Us scene with Star Wars TikTokers. So she would kick it off as Poe, then I would be the first one in, and we had a very large duet chain going to sort of promote that positivity. And when it came to like December 2021, a lot of us had been talking about how our channels weren't really growing, and it didn't look like the positive community that we had been building was really being pushed out of there. So I decided, I was like, at that point, I think I had around like 8,000 followers on TikTok, and I was like, well, I'm going to use my channel to boost the content creators that I know are putting out really good content. They love Star Wars. They want to involve more people in it and spread their love of it. So that's where There Are More of Us Thursday started. And it's really to promote people that love Star Wars and bring that love to the fandom, and they can have their critiques and they stay positive about it without letting their critiques overshadow other people's love for it.
Here. Yeah.
What Chris said.
It's that basically, it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna repost what Chris said, and that's it. Right,
I mean,
there.
there's no better way of saying it, though, if you really think about it. I mean, it's just like that concept, because I mean, I kind of did a similar thing, if Chris remembers, where I would pick out like, and this was when I was at like 4,000 followers or 5,000 followers on TikTok, and I would pick people that were under 1,000 that were really close, that I thought like really deserved it, and I just like give them a shout out. And that's kind of where like the community building kind of really started, because me as a smaller content creator, I knew the struggle of always looking at numbers, and what Chris was doing at that time was kind of a motivation to kind of give back to the community, because just because you have a small following doesn't mean that your voice is any less.
Exactly.
Which is something that I feel like, especially on the YouTube side of the community, it's really tough, because it's all about the negative stuff. Well, I'm glad I could do that for you, Sean. And look where you're at now, trying to replace me on my own podcast. How dare you? No, but I think that's the thing with this conversation. I feel like a lot of the conversations are in bad faith. A lot of the times. Because it's like they're being nitpicky, or they're being like, they won't explain what they mean. Like they can't, like for example, let's just throw out the scenario, Chris. That guy in Sawyer's live the other night. That's the prime example of like the typical fanboy, have no receipts, don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, what was the scenario, or as far as like just the basic plot points?
I mean, basically, Kay Stanzi and this Colin guy were going back and forth on TikTok, and Sawyer piped in, and she started a live, and the guy popped on to debate with Sawyer. That's another red flag.
Good luck.
Trying to think that you're going to outsmart a female creator.
Especially weird.
Exactly. Like if I would not want to fuck with any female creator in this community, because they know more than me, and I am not shy about that. Like I like Brooke's one that I would not mess with. Sawyer's another one. I wouldn't mess with you, Christina, because I've seen you take down a whole bunch of people. So it's just like he went in there with bad faith, thought he could talk about things, and Chris came in and basically bodied him. And it's just, if we're gonna have these conversations, make it in good faith, because if it's in bad faith, there's no point. You know what I mean? No, yeah, go ahead, Chris.
His whole thesis was Rey is a Mary Sue.
And that's such a tired
Right.
That's a tired premise, yeah.
And on top of that, it wasn't okay, let me bring, this is what I believe, these are my,
No.
reasons for it. It was he was reading off of other people's
Statements.
like work and statements and tweets and everything, and then he sent other people's YouTube videos to Sawyer to try and like back up his argument.
Right.
And that's the kind of thing, it's like for me, having been like, even being, before I was a lawyer, like being in Model UN and debate and everything like that, it's like, if you're going to take a stand, back it up with your own stuff. Because one thing I said to him at one point was, I asked him what were the defining traits of a Mary Sue from the fan fiction story where the term originated, and he read it just verbatim, like he's looking at a screen, he's reading it. And I'm just like, nice plagiarism, cite your source. And he's like, that's not plagiarism. I'm like, it literally is, but let's move on. And so I think that's where it comes down to. And he got so mad. Throughout the entire thing, he was so angry. And I think that's another thing that differentiates with what so many of us in this community try to do when we have productive discussions about things we disagree on, or things that there's a lot of debate on in this community. I mean, it's all about how you go about it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, is if you're going to have criticism is totally valid and okay.
Yeah.
But please also have a semblance of media literacy before you start just crapping on something, because it's gonna sound really silly if you don't.
Oh,
but they never hear themselves, though. That's the most frustrating part.
Yeah, it's like the echo chamber.
Yeah,
and that's where a lot of these supposed lovers of Star Wars, and I put lovers in quotations,
love to hate.
And that's the problem that I have. Like, my thing is, if I hated something so much, why would I put my whole body into it? You know what I mean? And the only answer that you can come up with is money.
I saw someone say in this latest round today of drama on Twitter that if you are creating such a content that easily creates such a farm for people to hate, then it's a failure on the company. But I'm just like, the grift has existed long before movies came around.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The grift was generally amongst a marginalized group of people, which so are these grifters, like hating on things because of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But I like, when it comes to critiques, like my pinned tweet on Twitter is a 22 tweet thread on how I believe they did Finn dirty in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
It did not start a flame war about The Last Jedi, because the intent is not to do it. You can easily voice your critiques and your disagreements with character choice, story choice, but if you come across it with, well, that's just mid, or I don't like it, or Mary Sue, or anything like that, such surface level criticisms that don't have any thoughts behind it, it just shows how many people who have knowledge that is a mile wide and an inch deep, they're all dilettantes.
Yeah.
And also, instant gratification has also destroyed people just enjoying story progression. We are so used to watching and binge watching an entire series on Netflix or whatever streaming service you're watching that we don't have patience anymore. And I'm guilty of it sometimes too, of sitting back and being like, wait a minute, there's still like 6 more episodes left. Like, let it play out. And it's really hard for people to do that now. And then so if a single episode is doing more plot than action, it drives them insane. And they're like, it was a mid episode.
Or it's a filler episode.
I'm like, there's still 6 episodes to go. Come on.
I will go blue till I'm blue in the face. Whenever somebody says that Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 4 is filler, I instantly point to, have you ever watched anime? because anime, if you've ever watched anime, Dragon Ball Z had what was it, 1 or is it 2 episodes, Chris, where Piccolo and Goku, who can fly, 2 episodes.
Was it 2 or 3? It might have actually been 3.
I think it was 3, but they go to the DMV to get driver's license.
In the defense of those episodes, I think those were like special episodes that came out with like Burger King or something. But your point still stands. Like one of my favorite manga, and kind of the anime suffers, but it wasn't done at the time the 3rd season came around, and so the studio decided to make the entire 3rd season filler. That crashed the show.
What show was that?
Rurouni Kenshin.
Oh yeah.
But when it comes to filler, the standard outside of manga or anime is it's not advancing the plot. But the thing is, when you're halfway through a season, you don't know what plots are being advanced unless it's like an adaptation from a book or a comic or something. So when it came to like the Mandalorian, and people were just like, oh, that New Republic episode was filler, and then you get to the end of the season, it's like, do you see the story threads that were being weaved now?
No, because they want instant gratification. They want what they saw in the last episode of season 2? Yeah, season 2. They want that all of the time, always.
Yeah.
And the word filler has now lost all meaning, because anything that doesn't immediately like tinkle their brains immediately is filler, and it drives me bonkers.
Yeah.
Well, and we find that in a lot of different things, right? Like a group of people latch onto a particular word or phrasing, it loses all meaning. Like in politics, the word woke. You know, it's just kind of like, well, you know, are we caring about M&Ms the way they dress now? Like that, and we find that same type of mentality when it comes to Star Wars. I mean, we get like bad character, Mary Sue, bad writing, filler. We get all these things that people cling onto in order to throw that negativity, and because they don't have their own thoughts, they're going to use other people's words and thoughts to put that forth. And so talking to them and trying to suss that out and come to what they actually mean is impossible on social media. But whenever you have a post, like if you have a post with Rey Skywalker, just that in and of itself, like you're gonna get some people who are like, yes, thank you for actually talking about this person, but then you're gonna get a flurry of the Rey Palpatines, the Mary Sues, the everything else. And as a content creator, like it's frustrating, but you don't want to stop talking about it.
Right.
I get that, and I've heard a lot of like female creators when they're saying like champion women's voices, that I've heard them making a post about Rey Skywalker is doing the bare minimum, which is absolutely why I don't really when it comes to Rey, I have my feelings about Rey. I love Rey as a character. Am I going to talk about her? No, because I don't want to, because there's so many other female characters that I feel like don't get the limelight, the shine or the limelight that aren't talked about as much. You know what I mean? And it's tough. It's tough because everybody deserves equal amount of praise and shine in this universe.
I am what ended up going kind of the opposite way, where like I want to shine more of a light on Rey because I think Rey as a figure, a character, has been latched onto by the toxic community as somebody to fling things at, and it being like the first real Star Wars lead female protagonist out there, and the fact that like there's going to be so much hate thrown at that person is that I don't want to stop talking about that person in a positive light, because if I stop talking about it, the other side has won that battle.
That's fair. And that's absolutely valid as well. I see that, and it's it's almost like, are you doing, because you don't really know if the person that is doing the content is doing it out of genuine like love like you do, Nick, or if it's just for bait, because those videos will do really, really well. They will.
Yeah, there's that kind of trend to put things out there that are going to be bait in order to get views or get comments, so then that the algorithm would push you out more. And there are things there, I would say there are probably 10 things or less in Star Wars to legitimately bring up thorough and genuine discussion about how things are done in like the main area of Star Wars. But then there are other items where if you do it, especially if you're not a part of a marginalized community, you are going to put the marginalized community in the crosshairs, even if you don't mean to.
Yeah.
So, like for example, for my end, when people say that like Finn should have been a Jedi. Now, I think that is something that can be genuinely and thoroughly discussed.
Oh yeah.
But it, depending on how you phrase it, you can put women in the crosshairs for people to denigrate Rey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like I learned that really early on in my content creation, which is why I had to stress every time I talked about Finn, I had to say Finn and Rey on separate Jedi paths, because that's the way they could both still be co-protagonists and not someone to say that, oh, well, Finn should have been the Jedi and not Rey. Like, both are possible.
Oh yeah.
Dream bigger.
Yeah, absolutely.
In all this talk, of course, about Rey and female characters, but also about women creators. Christina, what has been? I'm kind of detouring into this category. What has been your experience and your thoughts on kind of those topics?
Well, my overall experience has been pretty wild, because at first I didn't expect to even get any followers at all talking about Star Wars. I just like talking about Star Wars. And then seeing a lot of the mostly positive interactions I've had with people. And then every once in a while, the toxic people come out of the woodwork. And it's bizarre to me because I'm so used to the positive interactions with people like you guys. Like, it's how I met all of my Star Wars family on TikTok. And sometimes I've mentioned it before, you'll make a video about anything Star Wars, and somebody will have to be in the comments and like say something like Ray Palpatine or the sequels suck. And it's like, what does that have to do with anything I'm talking about right now? And then people trying to test you because you're a woman, or I've been called a kid before, and I'm like, I'm going to be 40 this year. I'm not a kid.
You're a kid to me.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that I'm older than some of the people that are like trying to call me out on stuff. And we do sometimes, as I can't speak for every femme content creator, I know, but for me, I do feel like I sometimes have to work a little bit harder because of how women in fandom are sometimes considered or treated by other creators, but also just, I guess, people that are scrolling through TikTok. But overall, it's been a relatively positive experience, but because I also found like my people on here, which has really, really helped. And so I've got my voice. I feel a little bit braver. I just try to focus on having fun. Some days the negativity gets me down. Sometimes it really bothers me and I won't post for a while. Sometimes I feel like really spicy and I'll go after them. Those are fun days because I feel like fiery and I'm like, yeah, screw these guys. I'm going to get them back. And sometimes I ignore it. It just depends. And I agree with what Chris said too. You have to be careful sometimes with what you say, because you don't want somebody else to get victimized or like dragged into it that doesn't deserve it.
Yeah. Chris, as a Black creator, I see so much, especially like on TikTok, of difficulties. is there a particular way that you find that you have to kind of approach being a creator, especially when it comes to some of these terrible humans?
So, TikTok is sort of my gateway into cosplay. I did a little bit beforehand through, like Halloween and stuff like that. And then I went to one Comic-Con, a local Comic-Con with my friend, and we were mostly just in like regular clothes, but just styled to whatever that fandom was. I didn't even know. My friend read the books, not me. But I went with Lando because I felt like that was a safe enough character in the fandom and prominent Black character that I could cosplay that weren't a lot out there. And I wasn't going to just subject myself to the, insert character here is not Black. So then I did Lando, then I did Finn, and then someone commented on, I think it was a Lando video, like, oh, I'm glad to see someone cosplaying their color. I'm like,
oh yeah, I remember.
All right,
that.
bet. Then I bought Anakin the next day. And so I haven't gotten as much of those comments on TikTok. I've gotten a few. I've gotten more on Instagram. And I know several of my other Black Beachels have gotten so much more. And it's just something that we have to purvey through. And mostly for me, most of those comments don't register as much as a negative to me, mostly because I've experienced worse in real life. And so there's nothing these like 12-year-olds can really say that's going to get to me. But when it comes to talking about the racism that is experienced by Black actors and Black characters, that's something that requires a bit more energy, because then there are people who are just like, oh, you're just being sensitive, or oh, this is woke, or that's a different kind of minefield to navigate, because people don't know what they're really talking about. They hear their parents say, what their politicians say that they agree with, and they spout it back, but they haven't really thought about it. And so when you push them to think about things, that some might be like, okay, maybe I need to rethink things, but then other times they just get angry because they don't want to be challenged. They just want to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, basically, like, being privileged and, being on social media, not having to deal with that aspect, and the kind of the worst I get is like bald jokes. It's I try to like empathize as much as I can and do what I can and not be a part of the problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got so on my Obi-Wan today, somebody commented Obi Wide Kenobi, and I like commented back and was like, I mean, he did gain some LBs by not doing a whole lot of Jedi stuff. So I mean,
the more pushback I get is when I gender bend cosplay.
Dude, your Ahsoka was fantastic.
A swolka.
It was so good.
It was
just so good.
I love Chris. I love so Chris also does a Darth Vader cosplay, and was Vader at Celebration. It was actually like during the Ahsoka meetup, was like standing in front of everybody and posing and being Vader for all the Ahsokas. It was a sight to see. But then I got to take some pictures, but beckoned Chris over and like, he's like, I know you were exhausted. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, God.
No. Okay.
So wild.
So at the end of all of that, so I had been Vader for 4.5 hours. Yeah. I had about 15 ounces of water in me and no food at all. So I was heading inside. I was heading in with Eileen, Bale, and Harith, and I told them, I was like, unless they're kids, no pictures. I'm going straight into the 501st room and then taking it off. And then Luke calls me over, and I like whip around. And
so mad
because I have no idea why. And so I'm like stomping over there like Vader in the scene where he's confronting Reva. And then he's like, Nick wants to take a picture. And I'm like, Oh, okay.
It turned out really well. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
We posted some of them on the Instas this week. But yeah, were you out in front of the circle when Ashley came up, Ashley Eckstein?
Yeah, I was kind of a little bit to the side. I don't know if she saw me. I don't know how you don't see me, but I don't know if she saw me. And I didn't have my speaker system in because I did not feel like putting it on. So I didn't like really have anything to exclaim towards her. But at that point, I didn't really care. Like, especially when she was interacting with the little ones, I was like,
oh yeah,
not my moment.
Oh yeah.
She's going to be at my local con, and I haven't decided whether I'm going to take a personal day from work and go on that Friday because I can't go on the Saturday or Sunday because it's my best friend's wedding that weekend. So I haven't decided yet. That may be a game time decision.
Yeah, if you're doing Ashley like autograph, she talks to you, especially at the smaller cons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So could be worth it. So back to Star Wars and its wonderful fandom that has never been toxic in its entire life.
Never.
Being old school, meaning like old, from like the original trilogy, and it's interesting how you see the same arguments pop up like every few years, and fans who like saw the hate in the prequels are now like hating on the new stuff and ignoring like everything else that came before. I mean, the hate goes back to the original trilogy when like Return of the Jedi came out. That was probably the most divisive one because you had those wonderful murder bears and another Death Star. And I know I was 4 years old. I was literally 4 years old in like 2 days when it came out. Came out 2 days after my birthday. That yeah, like it started then and just kind of it's been seeping throughout the years. But this never-ending cycle of that toxicity, and I don't really see it ending. But what I'm starting to see right now is the positive voices are shining through more. That idea that there is more of us, and because of things like TikTok and other socials, that we're finding our communities, we're finding our voices out there, which is why I think it's wonderful, Chris, that you're always doing more of us and shining a light on other creators, which I need to be better at myself. Sometimes I just like trying to keep up with my own socials. I can't get into that habit of getting too comfortable, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like in order for there to be progress and work, I have to do the work, and it won't always be convenient, and I can't wait for convenience.
Mm.
No, yeah, absolutely. No, that's. I mean, I need to get back to like maybe now when we hit 10K on TikTok, maybe I'll go back to like those that are like close to 5K or something, and just doing one of those videos. You can't just be deterred. Like I think the biggest deter is you cannot be afraid of what the numbers are going to do.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the biggest thing. I know some content creators won't post certain things because they don't want their view count to go down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's valid because that's your platform. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I wouldn't be where I am if Chris didn't do his thing. Or if Choco
Christina
didn't.
helped me out early on.
Yeah. And Christina, like it's crazy. Jesus, Element. Secret transmissions, more like public. Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
Like this and send it forth.
Yeah, it's wild what you can do with when you don't care. When you are trying to be as genuine as possible. You know what I mean? And eventually we'll get there. Eventually the tide will turn, and it's starting to, I think. It just that certain creator is just going to keep making an ass out of themselves, and I feel like we all can see through their BS, and there's a time and a place for everything, and I feel like some creators are now learning that, and it's probably for the best. You know what I mean? Because it's a tough subject to talk about, because yes, are they the biggest YouTuber in the community? Absolutely. But he hasn't been at his A game since the sequels came out. Like, let's just be real about it.
Well, so story time. To fill those in, I know a lot of you already know kind of what's happened this week. First of all, I mean, the last couple weeks have been like ever since like, the Ray movie was.
Chris, you got to talk about yours. Oh, baby.
And then we got Chris's thing. Which one do we dive into first?
Oh, we gotta go. We gotta go with the lady calling him a fascist.
But can we preface everything with this person who did this also was famous on TikTok for her Rome wasn't real conspiracy theory. So just so you get a wrap around of like the kind of person that she is, I thought she had faded into obscurity, and then this popped up the other day, and I was like, "What is happening?"
Oh, so saying Rome was made up?
Yes,
she thinks that Rome is fake. Well, she knows because she's a historian.
She also thinks that Alexander the Great was a woman.
Because it's impossible for Alexander the Great to be a male and have a male lover. So had I known that this was this woman, I would have never engaged in the first place. But I didn't know, because I didn't know I didn't remember what she looked like, because I only saw like 2 videos of hers, and mostly like 20 seconds, because it's just
she put filters on too, like she put those teddy bear filters on too on the app, so you couldn't really see what her face looked like anyway.
Okay, so that'll do it too.
Yeah.
So I saw this tweet, and it was basically saying that the upcoming Rey, the upcoming new Jedi Order movie starring Rey, does not need to be written by a white man. It needs to be written and directed by a woman, and also because it features her emotional support by BIPOC men. Now, my issue with that is, when we use the language emotional support, we mostly use it for animals, emotional support animals, or emotional support objects, really. And if she said emotionally supportive men, and didn't even have to put the BIPOC part, but emotionally supportive, that's a different thing entirely. So all I said was, considering that language is used for animals, it's probably not the best look to say that when you're referring to the BIPOC men. And there's a better way to say what you said. And she responded saying, she was out of F's to give, and that she didn't. She was saying it as a compliment, and I'm like, I can understand where you're coming from, but as a historian, you must know that Black and brown men have historically and even presently been referred to, stereotyped as animals or savages. So it's not a good look to compare them to emotional support animals. To which she responded that the emotional support animals would be offended at the comparison because all men are terrible. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, wow, the racism is out there. Like, there's no veil anymore. Racism is out there. And she is Jewish and weaponized that to say I am a Yahtzee because I cosplay as Vader, and that the whole of the 501st Legion are Yahtzees as well. And that's where things went crazy.
And she literally meant every single one of them. She doesn't mean, because there's problematic people in every community. That's just we're human beings. Unfortunately, that happens. She literally meant any person who is involved with the 501st is, in fact, a Yahtzee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the thing that astounds me is that she, with her full chest, called a black man a fascist. If you knew history, Chris wouldn't have been part of that group.
I know people say I look like Kanye West, but I'm not him.
It's so
That's okay.
wild.
People have compared me to Theory and what's his face, Pizzagate. Just because
Oh,
I have
yeah.
a bald shaved head, and
It's
yeah,
like
and
watching that at like 10 a.m. in the morning, like with my coffee. I'm like, what in the absolute fuck has happened
on
today?
Twitter, that's astounding.
I mean, oh, Jesus, like,
At,
ooh.
so at what point in that whole thing, Chris, did you go like, oh, like as far as what kind of person you're dealing with?
When she went the when she said the emotional support animals would be offended, I then went into her profile and clicked on her link tree,
Oh no.
hit TikTok, and saw Mom Lineal, and I was like, oh, I remember you now. I'm
Yeah.
out. And then she posted the calling me a Yahtzee thing. And at that point, like, I screenshotted and I blocked, and I was just like, I think my tweet was with that image, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
Yeah.
And a legion of people came out to defend me, which was I'm very grateful for this community, because even though that didn't like personally, offend me, it was wonderful to see so many people across the spectrum of the Star Wars fandom to come out and, defend me, defend the 501st, and call out her craziness.
I don't even get on Twitter anymore, and I got on Twitter to put my 2 cents in.
I appreciate that.
Oh,
There were even some people in Space Conflict Hypothesis community that came out to defend me.
There are more of us.
There are more of us.
That's how it works.
That's
Yeah.
That shit just I still can't wrap my brain around her calling you a Yahtzee. That just doesn't. If you are a true historian, you would know.
She's
that,
not.
Yeah. She's absolutely not. Like,
She's
that's
not.
wild. That's so wild to me.
But that reminds me of something that I was just talking to someone about like 2 hours ago, about the whole Space Conflicts Hypothesis tweet about their girlfriend being bi and black, so they can't be racist or homophobic, which I absolutely abhor that argument, because I'll just put it simply. Let's just keep it men and women, right? Can married men not be misogynist because they're married to a woman? Or if they have kids, they have a daughter? No, of course not. So why would it apply anywhere else? So when, someone was like, well, of course he had to say that because people would be like, oh, he doesn't associate with anybody of color, so he must be a racist. And I'm just like, he was like, how do you address the racism? I'm like, the content of your character, who you hang around, because it does not, if people are truly off base with their accusations with you, the people around you in your community, let alone if you have 3 million subscribers, I mean, granted, probably a tenth of those are active, but people are going to come out to defend you with actual knowledge of people. I mean, like, people that actually know you, not even just people that follow you, but people that actually know you. Agreed. Would come out to your defense.
And it does, and you're not seeing that.
Right. And you don't need to prop up the usually 1 or 2 people in the marginalized community, or in a marginalized community in your circle, that would defeat that purpose. That doesn't. Like, if you literally only have one black friend, like, I know this is like a comedian's line, but that's somehow more racist than having no black friends. Because you've just found your one and you're like, I'm good.
No, yeah, it's so wild that that person started off as like putting all of their emphasis on theories and stuff like that, and now look where they're at. Like, do they even have a show anymore? Do they even post on YouTube besides when new shows come out? Like, I honestly, whenever this part, like, their content gets brought up or that person is brought up, I have to remind myself that he actually exists, because I just don't engage. at this point.
He's blocked, but because of Twitter Blue, he keeps popping up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so. To fill in some people. So there's a YouTube creator. I'll let you figure out
Space
the name.
conflicts hypothesis.
That has over 3 million people on the YouTubes, and they've become a beacon of hate, really. I mean, quite honestly, but
or hope, as some of his followers would say.
It's that idea that it's a person who has gotten into their head that they are the ones who know Star Wars best, and that their opinions are more facts, and that in order to get views, it's about doing something negative for people to watch, to click and watch. And when you first get started as a creator, you can go like the positive or negative route. You can go like I'm gonna kind of like shit talk things and try to get as many views as possible, or you could try the positive route. The obviously the Sith, the easy quicker, more seductive route will get you those 3.3 million followers. But at some point, you not just start to do that, but you start to become that. Like at some point, that becomes a little bit of who you are. That gets into your system because you get that feedback loop of getting all that adoration for being negative and picking on things. And that's what we found this week when it came to Tamara Morrison's post. So Tamara Morrison went on and basically he has no filter.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's Boba Fett. That's our original clones. Is that he basically said that Mando hijacked my show, and was talking about that, and that he was supposed to be in Mando season 3, but he never got the call. And basically kind of talking out loud with a lot of that in an interview, and what this creator did is latched onto that and basically said, I stand with this person. The people who are creating Star Wars haven't done their homework and don't know what they're talking about. Hashtag bring back everybody that they've actually brought back already.
Yeah.
And it unfortunately, because this person's reach just kind of went everywhere. And that's where we find ourselves within the last couple of days. Yeah.
I will. All right, I guess I will out myself. So there is some footage after Obi-Wan episode 5 had come out. And it will probably never see the light of day, but I might be able to get my hands on it. I'm not sure. I probably will never post it, but I'll probably send it to the people in this call. And it was the time. I think it's ironic when he says that he wanted, like, this is what he's been saying for years. I want to see Anakin Skywalker kill younglings. Just straight up.
Yeah.
Like, he has straight up said that. And that's what we got. And he still complained about it.
Yes.
Like, you literally got what you wanted. Now go away. Let everybody else enjoy it.
It worries me that when the person's one insistence for that show was to see like a bunch of that in Order 66.
And especially with because obviously in America we get shootings every day, like it's been becoming more frequently, but like the premiere, like that shooting happened the day before or the day of the premiere.
It was the day right before, I think.
Day before. Yeah, the day before. So, and they had to put a disclaimer on it after the premiere, because remember, if you were there wasn't a warning at all.
And I will fully admit that was my first thought when we watched that. I was like,
yeah. And to think that a person is so out of touch of reality is going to champion that type of horrific thing. Now, the way they did it in that episode, I think is the best way they could have done it with the circumstances. You know, because the way it's shot, you're not really seeing him take down a whole bunch of you get the context, right? And I feel like that should have been enough. Like that's I wouldn't have gone any farther than that. And it served its purpose of giving Reva the motivation that she eventually has against Vader.
So here's my question to all of you. When it comes to when things like that are out there and you have somebody with such a wide reach of followers that you're going to have to, as a creator, kind of deal with this or handle this, is how do we go about approaching this? I know Element and a bunch of other creators did a little spoof comment.
Yeah.
I don't know if Element's still in here, but did a video. You can go see it on his TikTok. It's kind of spoofing the whole Boba Fett thing, specifically about this person. But I think from what a lot of those people is like they just kind of had enough of dealing with this, and like their approach being a little bit more slightly confrontational, but in a very satirical kind of way. But as far as what each of you think approaches going forward, in order for us to still kind of stay in that positive fan realm, what are your thoughts on that?
The one time that I did it, I don't know if anybody remembers that one, but it was about the bricks in Star Wars.
Yes. Yeah.
And so
Bricks and screws.
I kind of did it a little bit, smart assed in the beginning, but then I went into the facts. It was, hey, these literally where bricks have been shown in Star Wars before, if you want me to get literal. And also different props that have been made from things in the real world. Number one being the Gillette razor from episode 1, which I remember when I watched the movie, I got super excited about it. I'm like, I can make that prop. And just and he was also complaining about blasters, and I did a lot of examples of every single blaster we have in Star Wars is based off of real world pew pew. So, and they're not modified that much. They really aren't. If you go back to the video, I have pictures and everything. And that's kind of how I try to handle it, with a little bit of humor, maybe a little bit of sarcasm and sass, but like showing them, this is why you're wrong. And you're making a big stink to make people mad, but not basing it on actual factual history of Star Wars. And that's why it bothered me. That's why I made the video. And then of course I ended it with like, yeah, there's no bricks in Star Wars. And I showed the Temple of Yavin from A New Hope. But also I know a lot of people want to handle it differently. Some people they want to ignore it. And some people want to tackle it head on. And I don't know what the right answer is. That's just how I handled that particular situation. And for the most part, it got good feedback. I had a couple of this person's stands coming into my comments to try to take me down. But again, it's the same stuff they say over and over again. But that's my opinion on it.
It's just regurgitated.
Yeah,
it's like they have no thoughts of their own. You know what?
I mean, obviously, you're a Mary Sue creator. I mean, that's
that's
the terminology
What do you know, Christina? Come on.
You got too good too fast without training. That's
you didn't have enough training in Star Wars. You didn't have that timeline book.
Even though we showed a 20-minute segment of you training, that's not enough. We need an entire series of you training in your Star Wars lore.
The 40 years of my life, not enough time.
Nope. Chris, thoughts on approaches?
I feel like every situation commands a different approach. I think there are some things that we ignore, but I grew up in predominantly white institutions pretty much my entire life in terms of schooling, and so there were a lot of things that as I got older realized that I should have called out, but I didn't, for a variety of reasons, whether it would fall on deaf ears or whether I wanted to be accepted, or that, that's not a big of a deal. It's just a joke, or, something like that. And looking back as you get older, where it's like, no, those were mistakes. I should have talked to someone, because there are internalized mechanisms that will be developed in any situation when you allow things to slide. And because it's a slippery slope in any situation. And so for the longest time, there wasn't really a lot of pushback when it came to these uh, wild criticisms, either wild by in their, racism or misogyny or homophobia or transphobia, or in the ridiculous where, like the bricks and screws thing that have real no basis in reality. It's just a nitpick that makes no sense, because if you nitpicked it, you have to nitpick all the way back to 1977. And so they're disingenuous in their base. So there are times where you have to call it out, because we are here now, and we may not be as big, but people are starting to realize that what is being said doesn't make sense, or it's very shallow and easily the foundation is easily crumbled. And then there are some things that you just ignore because they're, obviously trying to, get engagement, trying to rage, trying to hype up their followers. A specific example is this person trying to sell merch saying the Force is testosterone or the Force is genderless, because I would challenge this man to show me a picture of him ever wearing Air Force Ones, because the Force is Female campaign was a Nike campaign about making Air Forces more accessible to women, because Air Forces are one of the most successful selling shoes of like in the sports realm of all time. And it was predominantly men that wore them. And so they wanted to make more money by making them more accessible and desirable to women. Why wouldn't a company do that?
Yeah.
And so then at I think it's like a high school film festival, Kathleen Kennedy went there because they invite women producers and filmmakers to come speak at said one, and they gave her a shirt and she wore it. It had nothing to do with Star Wars, only to do with shoes. This is lost on him, or he does know, and just because he's in this crowd that he's in, he decided to perpetuate that, it's talking about Star Wars, because either he does know or his whole life revolves around Star Wars. So Air Force Ones don't exist, which I don't know where my pair of Air Force Ones are right now, but they're black. So I got black Air Force One energy right now. But it's just the grift has to keep going. I mean, because there are a bunch of them that feel entitled to Lucasfilm's time and energy, and they should be getting access to screeners and invited to events for free and sent to events for free. And it's like, why would they?
Maybe if you stopped crapping on it, you'd get invited, man.
Because you're right, you can talk about your criticisms of things, you can talk about how you enjoy them, but if you spend most of your time crapping on things, like
and saying how much better of a job you would have done,
which we know that's not true, because
garbage.
I'm not going
there. Well, I mean, for so many years, once the internet came out, and internet was really kind of blowing up when the prequels came out, which did not mix well, as we saw.
No.
But for so many years, the toxic base has had that loud voice on the internet. And they've been predominant in that, and thus, like, the Star Wars fandom has that terrible reputation. But now that the positive voices are out there are times where speaking up is essential. Like when it came to Moses Ingram and all the hate she was getting. I mean, like, Ewan McGregor, finally Star Wars did something. Like, it's a toe in the water, but like saying something at all. But the fact that so many voices came out and did that, which they did not do in the prequels, when all the actors,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or the sequels. Yeah, and that was like a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's not long ago. The fact that the voices are finally being a little bit braver on coming out, I think, is opening doors, that allowing more people to speak on the positive end of things, or defend certain people. And we would, without that, we would not be getting the Rave movie right now.
No. No.
If that,
I
it
still
took
can't
how
believe
many
that.
years to get Hayden and Ewan back?
Yeah, 20.
And we didn't deserve that. I
Oh
mean,
no, hell no.
those of us that aren't toxic did, but like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? As we as a whole, as the community, did
Uh-uh.
not deserve to get
Even
either
more
you
so,
and
Ahmed Best.
yeah.
Even more so.
Which, by the
Yeah.
way, I wish I would have recorded my reaction. I literally dropped to my knees. I was like doing something in the living room while I was watching, and I was like, I wish I had recorded my reaction. I had no idea, but that was probably my favorite surprise in any of the shows so far.
Yeah.
And like we have to earn that. Like, we're gonna need to spend years like earning that.
Well, like, even if you think about this is why a lot of people, including myself, say that if we got a what if in Star Wars, they would never be able to do it because the validation that some of these fanboys would try to say. and it's sad because I wish we could have a what if series,
which is why I'm glad we have Visions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I just, my
I
thing
mean,
is,
if they did do something like what if, they'd have to do something ridiculous, like what if Wicket became the Emperor, like something so outlandish out there, you know what I mean? They couldn't do like what if, like
you couldn't even do Darth Jar Jar. Like, that would be that it would have to be like a not a usual fan theory.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Or have Darth Bane do time travel or something like that. You know,
I do want to see Emperor Wicket. That
would be wild.
Yeah. Yub nub.
Oh God.
You're all picturing it. Everybody
not right.
Now you will pay for your lack of yub nub.
Oh Jesus Christ.
Oh, well, in the Endor movies, the Battle for Endor, and I think the sequel, Wicket learns to talk, and it is the most horrifying.
Yeah,
it is. Going back and watching that is terrible. Like, so having that as like Emperor,
it's like blinkless eyes while he's talking. You're like, oh
yes, yeah.
I'm for that. I'm for that one. Yeah, it's tricky. And I think it is a Chris, like a per event, like how do we handle this? And I do like that in our community we all have kind of different roles that we play. Like Element did a little bit more confrontational, satirical. There are people that are out there that are trying to like spread the love and the positivity and uplift that. And I think all those voices together combined can lift us up. We don't need to use the exact same script that a lot of the talks people do. We can all say things in our own voice because we have that media literacy and that ability to have our own thoughts.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right with that. And I feel like both Christina and Chris said it perfectly. Like, it's on a basis, like on a base to base like situation. Like, there is stuff that we do need to call out. Like, I everybody knows this, but like the stupid post that they made about not getting invited to Celebration, that doesn't need
take
to
a
get
seat,
any,
young Skywalker.
Yeah. That doesn't need to get in any attention, because if you can't see what he's trying to do, then you haven't done marketing 101. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. Like, that person is going to do these things because they want that attention, and it's more, the way Element did it was very, very, I think it gets the point across, and whether that person takes that one way or the other, we will have to see, but most likely they will probably never acknowledge it.
They don't care.
Yeah.
No,
exactly.
But it's not for that person.
Yeah,
It's
true.
for
True.
it's for the rest of the
It's
community,
the
the
rest
people
of
who
us.
are only seeing that person and spouting those things, thinking like, to be a true Star Wars fan,
Ugh.
this is the way you have to think and talk. And that's essentially the mentality. Like, if you're a real Star Wars fan, you have to hate it.
I hate that. I hate those words. You're not a true Star Wars fan. If it's like, why? What gives you the entitlement just because you've been alive to see all 9 movies? Cool. Do you want a sticker? Do you want a sticker for knowing
I
more
kind of
than
want a
me?
sticker.
But you know what I mean? It doesn't cool. You get a pat on the back about knowing a fictional realm. Cool. Awesome. Like, I feel like people make Star Wars, which maybe this is a little bit of a hot take. I think people need to spend a little less time in Star Wars and a little bit more of time in reality.
You touch grass? Yes.
Because and that's even, and I will say this, and it's even for some people within the community. They mean well, but it comes across like you might want to take a break for a while. And it's wild.
Yeah.
By the way, everybody says they want stickers, and I mean, yes.
We just want stickers. We don't
I
necessarily
usually
care what it's for.
I usually say
Just give me a sticker with Star Wars on it.
I usually say, "Do you want a cookie?" But I didn't feel like I wasn't feeling it.
Well, I mean, that's very dark side of you to like offer.
I'm sorry.
So when it comes to some people in the community, because there is sort of a cyclical nature to what happens is, as we look at some things in the High Republic section of the fandom, Andor versus Mando sections of the fandom,
or Mando versus Andor versus Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah, and there's coming this with there's a segment of the fandom that loves Andor that are being very elitist in how they are treating that. There are people in the High Republic fandom that are like, their reactions to the Fallen Star, I won't get into specifics, were very they were very fandom menacey.
Oh yeah.
And
interesting.
What was there to be fandom menacey about? You were gonna have to talk to me one-on-one later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I'm curious. Yes.
Yeah, I'm all cut up. So
I'm a High Republic fan, so I'm like, what?
Like, they were going after Claudia Gray, and so it's like, the thing is like, you can love what's being produced by Star Wars, and you can call yourself a positive Star Wars fan, but if you're going to act like the same people that mistreated the sequel actors or the directors, then you're not doing anything different, because like, it's okay to not like things, but separate art from the artist and learn how to talk about things in a way that is nuanced, that gets your point across, that is not just steeped in so much anger and hatred and vitriol. And so many people just don't know how to do that. They don't know how to talk.
Yeah. I mean, fighting fire with fire when it comes to this fandom is not the approach. Which why I can appreciate the satirical side of what Elma did is approaching it with humor rather than trying to rant about it, because then you become that same thing in everybody else's eyes, and you're defeating your purpose in trying to fight back, because all they're going to see is that anger, and they're like, oh, well, you're just doing the same thing. You're just as bad, if not worse, is what they'll say. So it's a lot more delicate. I often equate this, again, like, back to Star Wars. We're all Star Wars fans, but like the values and the ideals that Star Wars puts forth and has been for 46 years. It's all there in the text. Like the approach of the Jedi versus the approach of the Sith. And I don't mean when the Jedi get all kind of bent out of shape in the prequels. I mean, like, the actual ideals. But then you find these people who are actively going against those ideals, calling themselves true fans. So I always have to remind myself that to be that Star Wars fan, I still need to maintain those ideals and those fundamentals when I'm approaching this outward. Because otherwise I'm not really celebrating or putting forth the thing that I love.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it for myself and to hear myself. Rather than trying to speak about a thing that I love. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
No,
I think
yeah.
so.
It's the echo chamber.
Yeah.
It literally is the echo chamber.
And I always question myself when I'm going to make a post like that. It's like the words that I'm going to use or the approach that I'm going to use when I'm dealing with the topic. I was doing some posts this week. You kind of listen through. You're like, am I an a-hole at all in this? Am I kind of off target? Yeah, like I would kind of want to stay on topic and have a point. But it's really hard because when those people do it, you just feel that angst and that like anger and like you want to scream back, but then you have to like center yourself.
No, yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Because I mean, you said something earlier that was like straight to the point. Like the way that these fans are doing it is not to be stereotypical, but like they're aligning with like the all right and the folks that are not the best people in the entire world, but they're okay with it because that's where their base is. So they will live and die with that fandom because that's who supports them, and it makes you question what happened to you as a child. Did you not have a whole bunch of support? Because it's baffling how much people will sell as much of their soul for that fame, notoriety, and that money. It's baffling.
It's a slippery slope. I mean, it's the Anakin journey. You know, it doesn't happen in one instance. It happens over time, and even with people telling you the thing to do, if you start ignoring that and you start to go down that quick, easy path, like the immediate gratification path, it just you start to become that. It goes that way, and then you become your own echo chamber, and that's all you can hear. And I mean, there's not really anything to do about those people in particular. Again, for me, it's everyone else. It's everyone else that I'm trying to speak to, rather than that person.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Because you're not going to change that person's mind anyway.
Not
so what's the point?
Yeah, that's part of the thing. It's like picking and choosing your battles. Like Christina said earlier with the bricks, and that's the best way to handle that. The way that Element handled the situation, Chris bringing up the subject of what that person had said earlier in the day, and it's almost like, when is it enough, right? When do we start to realize that it's not going to register? It never will register. You know what I mean? When is it time to put the phone down and just walk away? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's another case by case thing. Like at this point, actually, I don't think at any point was I actually trying to correct his behavior.
No.
It's more showing other people out there like, this is not behavior you want to emulate. And if you do think that, I'm going to challenge you to figure out why you do, and so then you know why you do, and maybe you'll come to the realization of why you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's more or less a teaching moment that you were trying to do.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that came about one of my tweets today about saying don't use people in a marginalized group that you know to say like, oh, I'm not racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, whatever.
Yeah,
because you know that's not what you're like. That's not helpful. No. And if you're at that point, you've lost. Because are you saying if those people did not exist in your life, then you would be? Or if they, you know, if they died tomorrow, God forbid, like that, you would be. And so many people came out to say like, oh well, I challenge you to point out to a situation where he was racist or sexist. I was like, that's not the point of the tweet. The point of the tweet is if you have to point to that, you have lost. Because at this point, it's not about who you are, it's about the person you have with you. And like I said, there are many different arguments that you can point to that will ultimately defeat the purpose. Like
Yeah.
you can even be a part of a marginalized community and be actively harmful to yourself and others in your marginalized community. Like it's not, you're not absolved of racism because you have a black friend, or you're not absolved of misogyny because you have, a mother, a sister, a daughter, a wife. You're not absolved of being anti-Semitic by having Jewish friends, like it, and on and on and on. Like we're not props for you to pat yourself on the back and make you feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
I'm in my swing dance community, and there's some dancers that are in the chat. Of all the dances that we do, when it comes to big band and like Lindy Hop, Charleston, I can name a lot of dances that won't make sense, but Lindy Hop and a lot of those dances there and the music are Black dances, Black American dances, and sometimes it's really easy to kind of steamroll over that just to try to teach or dance, but especially in the last few years, like a lot of it for someone like me is take a step back and just listen, just try to listen to learn. Sometimes it's not about taking the microphone. Sometimes it's about taking a step back and learning for a moment and trying to understand and kind of better yourself. So sometimes in a lot of those moments, like if something like Moses Ingram comes up, like I'm not gonna I'm gonna also speak out. But there's other times when you don't quite understand the situation, if you can't relate to it, or it's not something that you went through, like as someone privileged like me, like I haven't had those things in my life.
Yeah.
Like I haven't had to deal with a lot of that. But
Not in our lane.
What's that?
It's not in our lane.
Yeah, it's not in our lane. And I've had to spend a lot of the last few years like definitely like sitting back and just kind of listening and trying to understand and not be a part of the problem.
Yep.
Because sometimes if we're always talking, we don't realize we are a part of the problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I will say that I personally kind of like fumbled the bag on that whole thing, because it was brought to my attention that like, hey, like that doesn't look the best, so maybe you shouldn't do it. And that's the thing that I love about our community, is that people will genuinely tell you like, hey, this is messed up, or you should probably say something about it. And I've always taken those experiences as learning and growing experiences, because not everybody's perfect. We know this. Like, not everybody is going to make the right decisions in their lives, and that's just the way it is. The way it is at being humans. You know what I mean? And I mean, like with the channel, like with me and Chris, whatever we do, like every other Friday. I mean, last week we had a whole femme panel, and after that whole experience, like I had learned things that I had caught myself doing, just having those creators on, was just an experience, and just being able to learn and grasp what they were saying. I feel like is what was very important, and the other side of the fandom, they don't have the capability of doing that. That's just the truth.
Yeah, I mean that's not really the mentality there. I mean, we put each other in check, but we also lift each other up when we need it. Whether it's the spotlight needed for someone, or just when someone's not doing well, like there for support. And the fact that this community is growing, this kind of what I know, it's weird like to say like positive and toxic, because a lot of people take that idea of positivity as like you're only positive about everything, but it's trying to take that emotional maturity and bring that to the fandom and try to approach it in that kind of way, and knowing that you still have something to learn, knowing that you're interacting with people and you're trying to have conversations. You're not trying to give a sermon to everyone all the time. And that we have this community and the people in the chat being a part of that. Like they're always so supportive in all of these lives. And then when things are happening on the internet, like people are like, no, we're on Chris's side. We got your back. When the crazies are out there. I love that. And I love that it's continuing to grow. We got a lot of growth to do, but it is growing. And again, we're starting to see in the last couple of years that there are more of us. And I think it gives us a little bit more strength knowing that. And like now that we're getting to see each other, like a celebration or something, and get together and have that moment, like especially last year's celebration on those steps, because we were all there. And being able to have that moment and burst into song, I mean, like that fills you up forever. That stays with you.
Oh yeah. And those are the moments that you have to really look at. And I feel like Celebration is such a good read on the fandom as a whole, right?
Yes.
Right? Because Disney looks at that and they say, okay, people are willing to go to different countries to see our product. These people aren't the ones that are online constantly giving it hate. Because let's be real, who's going to spend $2,000 to fly to a different country for 4 days for a convention? If you hate it, well, I mean, like if you hate it, if you really hate it, why would you go? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and I feel like Celebration is what the true Star Wars community, the true fandom is. If I'm going to be completely honest, I think everybody that has had the opportunity to go is kind of the gauge of, hey, this is where the community is at as a whole, and everything else that you see online is online.
I agree.
And I agree, and I also agree with this.
Yeah. I wasn't.
I know. You get to Celebration, you're like, oh,
yeah, it's
all the pretty things.
Yeah. It's I'm gonna take a break from 2025. Everybody can go have fun.
You know what? I'm not gonna go 2024. I need to save up my money. There's no 2024, by the way, people.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I want to go to Japan so bad because I miss Japan. It's one of my favorite places in the world. But if I go to Japan, I want to go to Japan. Like I don't want to spend time at a convention. But we'll see. We'll see.
Well, and it's also, if you think about it, it went from 5 days in 19 to 4 days in Anaheim, and then 4 days, and now it's 3. So
it was also 4 days in 2017. So it's fluctuated for reasons that who knows, but
I've got other plans.
Yeah,
that I won't speak on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're good plans. I like these
plans.
Squinty.
Yeah. Very, very good plans.
Make the plan, execute the plan.
Executing the plan is going to be a real interesting one, if I'm going to be honest with you. But no,
you can do it.
Celebration, yeah, absolutely. And you know what's funny is like when you meet up with mutuals, like last year especially was just so amazing. Just seeing Chris, getting to meet Nick, having the moment with Nick of just getting into the Kenobi premiere, meeting Christina, and like I mean I met my partner for the first time like face to face at Celebration, and it's just those moments are is what makes the Star Wars community in like the best, in my opinion. Yes, do we have a lot of the terrible fans? Absolutely. What fandom doesn't? You know what I mean? But it's those moments, it's these friendships that I'm going to have for the rest of my life because of a stupid thing called Star Wars. You know what I mean?
It's just
And
stupid.
and I will always be grateful for the community that we have built here. And it's wild. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that people actually want to listen and hear my takes, like as bad as they are. It's just wild to me. So
I mean, yeah, it's when first getting started with Star Wars on TikTok. There was the whole sound that was going around is "Can I help you? I know more than you."
yeah,
That sound from Parks and Rec. That's when I was really trying to get into the Star Wars realm, and there was a lot of that in the beginning. But then, like, each of you started to embrace that, and then that feeling that welcoming in. I still get that, like, I know more than you. In comments a lot. People are often trying to, but it's usually them trying to talk about things in the EU and not.
Almost every time. It's like, I
Yeah.
still know more than you, by the way, but go ahead.
Give it a try. Yeah, you're just in the comments. You're not the one actually making a video.
Yeah, and that's the thing half the time. It's either a Lego figure that has made, like, a lot of these commenters don't make content.
No, yeah,
So
the
it's
majority
like,
of them.
yeah, the majority of them don't make content. So like my philosophy is why waste my time and effort worrying
I
about a
constantly
person?
have to remind myself.
Yeah, and it's easy,
Constantly.
and it's easier said than done.
My
But
favorite's
like,
when they make multiple accounts and you can tell it's the same person.
yeah,
After you block them, I'm like, really? Okay.
yeah. I mean, thanks for the interaction. I'll
Thanks
take
for the
it.
content boost.
Yeah, pretty much.
And by the way, a lot of you that are in the chat now, I do want to have a lot of you on. Those of you that are listening, I need to do better at scheduling people. But there's a lot of people that buy on each week. I just need to reach out and put out a post. I'll put something on like the podwans, like self promo, something or
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely do that for sure, because that's what that's there for. And
I do want to use this to also like put spotlight on more people, connect, because again we're all like talking to our phones and then we see each other's videos, but like this is the interaction. So this is like one of the few times I really get to actually talk to my people, and I love it. That's one of the reasons why I'm going to keep doing this, is because I get these moments. And yeah, it's so different actually getting to talk to you all, and I love it. It fills me up every week.
I'm really glad that you had me on today, especially because this is my first time doing anything besides TikTok since I had my baby, like 8 months ago.
Yeah,
so.
That's right.
It kind of feels like
about that.
Yeah.
You were literally at celebration, like ready to like just
with
deliver.
your
Satine right there.
Yeah, with my satine, my pregnant satine costume.
Did you
get
you had Ewan photo op the same day as me and Alanis did? I'm pretty sure.
I think so. Yeah, it was a good day. And and by the way, Ewan McGregor is super nice. I know I told other people, but like he actually was like, make sure that you take a break when you need to, and make sure you drink water. Because I think oh my goodness, what's her name? Was also pregnant. They just had a baby right before that, so it was kind of cute seeing like the dad side of him.
Oh yeah.
Go take care of yourself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now we have both. We got Hayden this year and we got Ewan last year. The story with Hayden, he smelled like Marlboros and cologne. Like straight, he was ripping darts. Oh, it was
he was probably so anxious, like that. You can see his face, and then like that's why when he genuinely gets moved when people were cheering for him.
Oh yeah, I've never had more of an outer body experience meeting that man, because if some of you know, not all of you know, Anakin Skywalker is my favorite character. I grew up with the prequels, so Hayden was like my person. and I have to preference this. I'm not a typical Anakin stan. Anakin made problems. This was it. A lot of his problems were his own. Deal with it. If you can't, it's not my problem.
Use him as a learning experience.
Yeah,
you learn from his bad choices.
Yeah, he's a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
But like meeting him, well, I think I didn't even cry when we met Ewan. I was brought to tears. A stupid movie that I saw when I was 10 years old, watched him act in, changed my life forever.
And it has brought all this community together as well.
Yeah, it just baffles me how people can just like hate something so much and then just make content. Just like go away. Just if you don't,
That's the dream, but
I don't understand it. It's like if you hate it so much, then why talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
We all know the reason why.
I don't.
What's the reason?
Because I don't get it.
Tell me, Jedi Master Luke. Are you looking for? They gotta pay up.
I
mean,
some would say that they're pandering to their base that pays them.
Subscribe and I'll tell you.
To quote Mr. Krabs, money. Yeah, there you go.
But how miserable does it have to leave you feeling at the end of the day, even if it is for money? Like I just don't I don't get it. Like I'd rather feel happy about something that I made and laugh at my own jokes, or find people to be like this than to be negative. I just don't it's got to make you like hollow inside.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, some people will just sell their soul, and that's basically what they
worth
want.
It's a lot of it's trying to fill that void, and that they're never able to fill that void. Because that's what they think they need, and it's like very instant gratification, but then it goes away real fast. But they're always trying to use that same approach to try to fill that empty void, and so it's just a continuous cycle.
It's terrible.
Yeah, the quick and easy path. Oh, by the way, during the pandemic, with some of my friends on here, I did do a Star Wars D&D. We didn't do it online with that, but if anybody's interested, I mean, we're talking about getting it restarted, and can always stream things. But I don't know who's actually interested in those things.
D&D is, if you ever want a good laugh on a Saturday night, Chris, Nada Kyber, Grand Admiral V, Pharaoh Remy, and DM the Jedi Smarker Malik. We have a campaign. We got our own little group called Disaster Crew, and it's in the Pod1 server. If you want to watch chaos happen in a D&D game,
those are the best ones.
Come join in. I think, what did we say? May 27th is when we're starting this new thing up, right?
I think it was the 27th.
27th.
Technically, I'm just joining the campaign. I mean, in the last session, I was an NPC dragon, and now I'm joining the crew as a bard.
Yes.
So there's that. And if you want a Star Wars tabletop role playing game, there is the Better Than a Stick game hosted by Level Up Sabers on the Level Up Sabers YouTube, where you have myself, B Dazzler, High Gain Sad, Master Allen, Janna the Hutt, as set in the early High Republic, as a tabletop role-playing game using the Savage World system. So I think the first 6 episodes are on the Level Up Sabers YouTube, and that is my first diving into tabletop role-playing games. So it's a very
God, I'm the worst. I need my hand like held throughout everything. Like, I'm sorry, John, Julie, and Sean and Rebecca. Like, I'm like, what does this mean? Nope. Like the entire time. I
can't talk more about Malik as a DM. He's just like one of those DMs that will let you like do fourth wall breaks with God, and it's so much fun. So if you guys ever are not busy on a Saturday night, come hang out with us in the Discord server. trust me, you will be in shock and awe with what happens.
Maybe
Shock
we
and awe,
need
that's
to.
the
Maybe
approach.
we need to just record these sessions and
I have thought about it.
and
I've
we just
thought about it.
edit them and censor them a little bit. Like come for
Are
the
you kidding
live,
me?
like join the
Ooh.
Discord server for the live reaction, but like censor some things so we don't get
Oh.
demonetized
Can
within
you
the first 5
imagine?
seconds.
Can you no, that I mean the last session we had, I mean
Roll for
No.
pegging.
yeah, roll for pegging. Your people talk to my people. It's a wild time. Let me tell you, a lot of these players are playing for the first time as well. So it's quite wild.
I will tell you, everybody out there, is the positive Star Wars fandom knows how to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And there's always karaoke. There's always.
We have not had a very good track record with karaoke. We are
I
over
have.
to shut up, Chris. That's for you. We are 0 for 2. I wouldn't mind us never doing karaoke again. Just going to a hotel room and drinking would be just fine.
I mean, we can do hotel karaoke.
Got it.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, I'll sing anywhere. It's fine, and
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be. I like just being with this and being a part of all of you being so ridiculous is one of those reminders where like, yeah, I found my people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I constantly say that waking up every morning and like being just like the fact that Char is going to be here tomorrow night and we're gonna go to Return of the Jedi on Friday and we're gonna go
going Saturday. Yeah.
And then we're gonna play Jedi Survivor all day on Saturday together in person. Is just baffling to me. Just baffling.
I totally forgot that came out today, by the way. It's downloaded on my PS5, but I totally forgot about it because I'm playing Fallen Order, and I was like, oh, right.
Yeah. So, we've got a busy weekend. Very busy weekend.
Yeah, I won't be able to play it until Saturday.
Oh, but that's for good reasons.
That's true.
Or is there something to brag about now?
No.
Okay. No, just good reason. All right. All right, you don't have to.
I'm just Chris's hype man.
I'll be Chris's hype man anytime.
Yeah.
Damn speaking of which, Chris, just putting this in your brain thoughts, but if you ever want to like blossom more of us into something like bigger, I mean, you've got the lawyer skills, but like,
make people pay for it. Come on,
well,
we could
just
profit off of this.
No, I mean,
smell profit.
I'm just putting that out there, and I know you've probably thought about it, but like, we're all here to hop on board if you ever want to, grow something, grow a rebellion.
I'm with you till day one, baby. Day one, I'm with you.
I mean, so we're coming back tomorrow. I have a list of creators ready because that's what I didn't do last year. I just kind of like figured it out the week more than likely the day before. So I have a list so I don't have that happen. And so that'll be better. Like I can't like there's always the thought of like, oh, maybe do like TikTok live with that person or YouTube live with that person.
Yes.
But that's something I'd have to work out. Obviously everybody's in a different space when it comes to that. But we'll see as things go out. Pat asks, is Black Too Nerdy back? Yeah. We'll be probably doing another episode after Guardians comes out. And I guess we never did do a Star Wars Celebration debrief, even though I was there and my co-host wasn't.
Or a Rings of Power debrief.
Yeah, we never did do that. We went on hiatus for like 4 months.
Yeah, I've been itching to talk about that goddamn show. Okay, Chris, you promise.
I did promise. I have watched it, so at least I'll be there. And then my co-host, who is also named Chris, will just kind of be like,
How does that? How
I-
does it? How did it tie into the original trilogy of Peter Jackson's? Oh, it doesn't.
We went to Birmingham right after celebration to see all the Tolkien locations and everything. Yeah, and when we watched Rings of Power. So I know somebody who worked on the show, and messaging that person after like every episode. Yeah, that was fun. But I'm not gonna like name drop yet. Someday.
Offline.
But Chris, I even like more so, like more of us being like maybe a foundation someday or something like you know, something like that. I'm just gonna plant those ideas right now.
I will say that there is the idea of I'll try and find one because I think I do have some stickers left. To see if I can take the design of that and put that on a shirt and sell There Are More of Us shirts. You know, like if people would be interested in that kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely. Are you kidding me?
I'm terrible at promoting myself, but I'm great at promoting other things. That's what I've basically spent the last like 3 years doing. Like I've done like fundraisers. I've helped like raise like over like 120,000 like over the pandemic for different things.
Shit.
Maybe more. Something like that. So you know, if you need somebody to signal boost that, I'm
Nick. So have we figured out what the podcast is rated? Because I feel like because the last time we were on, wait, were we on the first episode or second one?
Second one.
Second one. You were like, I don't know, and I was like,
three of you having the 3 podwans on.
You better get it figured out because
we did mention pegging in this episode. So.
Yes, we did. So
as far as I know, like minors aren't really watching things so much. I mean, nobody in the chat that I know of is. I think I don't know. But let's try to stick to PG-13. You know?
Yeah, I think we stuck to that.
Yeah,
we stuck to that. I feel like if we would have talked more about Disaster Crew, we would have gotten.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I just seeing some like speaking of like Lord of the Rings, like a post of Dominic and
Friendship Onion.
Yeah, and them talking about the fact that in the States, Lord of the Rings is rated PG-13. So where would you put that F-bomb? In that. Just
fly you.
I love the fact that they didn't pick any other movie, and all of the ones that they chose were in Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah. Now all of you are tasked with thinking like where that would go in Star Wars.
I have.
Ordium.
I already did an edit of mine for Revenge of the Sith.
What? You can bleep yourself, but like, what do you got?
When Mace gets his arm chopped off and he's screaming, I spliced in from Django. You know, he's like, you mother. And then he gets thrown out the window.
That works for me. I love it. This is where the fun begins.
Yeah. Oh my god, yes.
I have a really bad feeling about this.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many good places for that. But yeah, I'm gonna put that idea in your brain, Chris, and I'm gonna keep poking you every once in a while.
Okay.
I love like, you know, pushing something out there. For me, it's not about the money. It's about spreading the love.
Yeah.
When it comes to that, who knows? Like we could fundraise for something. You know.
Yeah.
That's always nice. So I know we've been talking for a long time, but to wrap things up, first of all, can you remind us where to find you, and also like when you're got your podcast, stuff like that, when those are?
Yeah.
Luke, let's start with you.
All right. You can find us at the Podwans on all social medias. We've got Rebels tomorrow night. We're gonna be talking with Chase Forward into the Black about Iron Squadron. So that's every Thursday night, 8:30. Is it 8:30? Yeah, 8:30. 8:30 EST. Obviously this week again, we're talking Survivor. Harris Productions will be going live on our YouTube, streaming his gameplay, and then Char and I we'll be together here on this couch, playing as well. So if you want to pop in, it's gonna be on all of our socials, and yeah, that's pretty much where we can be found.
I like that.
Yeah.
Christina, where can we find you on all the socials again?
TikTok at Boobafett and Instagram at Boobafett83. And I will probably also be talking about Survivor and Fallen Order pretty soon. And yeah, I do a lot of nerd vomit basically on TikTok.
Yeah.
It's
You're gonna see
chaotic.
a lot more Christina content now. And Chris.
Yeah, so you can find me Star Wars Lawyer on everything. I also have a podcast, Too Black, Too Nerdy. You can listen wherever podcasts are listened to, and I guess upcoming things, yes, talking and streaming Survivor, but also I'm teaming up on my YouTube channel with Liesel Bit of Fun. And we are going to be recapping and reviewing the Jedi Apprentice, Jedi Quest, and Last of the Jedi series.
Ooh.
Yeah, because we love those books and we stand Jude Watson in this household. Well, she doesn't live here, but still, you get it.
Yeah, the consensus. By the way, coming up on this podcast, some different things got in the works. I obviously, like, the day before May 25th, so May 24th, we'll do a Return of the Jedi podcast, kind of go into some of the history and things like that, and that'll be fun. We've got some different things, talking to somebody who worked on, two people who worked on Obi-Wan Kenobi for stunts. One person is actually a friend of Christina's, is one of the people who was in the Vader suit doing stunts for that.
Nick?
Yeah.
That's not my contact, but she put me in contact with him, and so, like, I'll be scheduling with him soon. Of course, one of my friends, the longtime dance friends, Pepe, who does a lot of stunts, was in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, a Jedi, doing stunts as a Jedi, and like one of the videos went viral, so that'll be on. We've got, I know, I'm trying to like, you know, do as much as I can with this. We'll talk about video games, but also we'll talk about, like, all the old school Star Wars video games. We're going to do a podcast on that. I know John's already
like the SNES ones.
What's that?
Like the SNES ones.
Like way back. Like
Battlefront 2 2005, which is arguably the best Star Wars game that has ever come out.
I don't know, man. The SNES games, I'm just saying.
I agree. I agree. They're up there.
Really good.
And we'll
Jedi power battles.
How dare you, Chris?
Masters of Sarah's Cussy.
Yeah, but we'll do older, but also we'll probably have a couple people on just to kind of go through the gamut of things. And yeah, trying to plan a lot of different things. Also, for those of you that are listening in, I want to bring on people and have people talk about things they want to talk about, like topics that versus me just saying, like, hey, can you talk on this? But, like, what are things that you actually want to talk about? What are things in the fandom that you love and you would like to come on and talk about? Because that's more interesting to me, is to hear what something that you love. So by all means, don't be afraid to message me. I'll reach out on the podwans as well. You can reach out on me on Discord and everything else, the different socials. But please, don't be afraid to poke me, because I don't know everyone yet, and I want to know everyone. I want to know all of you.
I want to live in your walls.
Otherwise, I just stay in this box and nothing happens. But yes, I want to know all of you and kind of, expand my world of what this community is. And of course, hit like on this video too. It helps expand all of this. But to all three of you, I love you all, and
love you too, man.
Love you too.
It's always so good to see you, and I got to see a couple of you a couple weeks ago. But I appreciate what you bring both to this community, but also to me.
Dude, you're starting to get me teary-eyed. What the hell is wrong with you?
Well, Yeah, well, because then I got emotional, and then I have to say the emotional things. But it fills me with joy, and every time I get to like wake up in the morning and like see like go on TikTok and like get to see videos from my friends and see what everybody's talking about is the best way to start a morning, But actually getting to talk to you is even better, and thank you all. I appreciate all of you. And thank you for being on here in this kind of like just getting started podcast. But together we are that family, that found family.
Oh, yeah.
And it's that found family, I think, that creates a reason for getting up every day, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And keep going with all the negativity in the world. It keeps that hope there. So thank you all. And there are more of us.
There are more of us.
There are more of us. Thank you all. We will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. I know, wrong fandom. But